DJ Hunky Wonky on the ones and twos. This is the Ryan Show FM. Mr. Cheeks, hip hop legend in the house as per norm. Cheeks, how are you, brother, man?
Everything solid gold, baby. Good to see my brothers. Good to know we back at it. Another Monday. In the building, baby.
It's one of those type of nights. This is a 420 sensation. We've got two 420 legends here in the Zoom chat tonight, but one is a hip hop legend. One is a professional wrestler, actor. To my knowledge, I believe he's one of the first wrestlers to do like radio or have a podcast way back in the day, over 10 years ago. But I mean, honestly, one of my heroes, one of the guys that made it okay for me to enjoy one of my lifelong hobbies. And yes, it is a medicine. And this guy's been sure to push it and make it mainstream even when it wasn't cool to do so and could even put your career and reputation in jeopardy. So for that, we must thank you. We have WWE Champion, ECW Champion, one of the all-time greats here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up for the one and only RVD. Mr. Monday Night Rob Van Dam is on the Ryan Show FM.
RVD.
Very good to be here. Very good to be me. You got Mr. Monday Night on this Monday night. Assuming this is Monday. It's Monday, right?
The illusion was broken a long time ago. So yeah, it's whatever day that it is now on this station. But yes, here we're recording on Monday night. So it only makes sense to have Mr. Monday Night on a Monday night when we record.
That's crazy.
I want to give a big secret away. And, like if we're trying to do this live, I just it up. Go ahead and edit that out.
Oh, it's all good. We got good editors for that. And I got to ask you first and foremost, RVD, how are you doing tonight?
Dude, so good, man. Life just gets better and better. And I'm really stoked about this year, 2021. You know, I felt a big change in the energy. And I just knew that I just couldn't, I follow my relationship with the universe. I've done it for a long time. As that grows, so does the quality of life. And this year, a lot of things are coming together. A lot of things that are long time, full circle coming together, like things that have been in the making for years and years and years, and they're coming together, and it's all just so perfect. You can't rush a lot of stuff. Everything does happen when it's supposed to, man. In 2021, it's happening. So hope you're feeling it.
I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling it right now.
I'm feeling it. Yeah,
I'm feeling good.
That got me looking at 2021 in a different way.
That's the way to do it, because you got some people like negative and morose. Like you said, there's all these things coming together. The energy's right. That's the spirit. That's what I like to hear when we have people on here. So, what do we have going on? What's coming together in 2021? And when's your next match?
My next match is April 3rd in Wisconsin, Stevens Point, Wisconsin. It's for Frontline Pro is the name of it.
Is it open to the public for anyone out there?
It is. Yeah. That's funny you mentioned that, because it's coming up soon, but I guess I should keep in mind that, plans still do change. So maybe I better keep that in mind, that it's, who knows if the numbers go back up, and then we have to, pull back a little bit, but I don't see that happening though. This will be the first event that I've done in front of people in a long, long, long time.
We had Gerald Briscoe on here recently, and he thinks that wrestling, the product, is going to be better when the fans get back, because now everybody's had all this practice wrestling without fans being there. So now he thinks that everybody's kind of had to step it up. Would you say, do you feel the same way? Do you think it's going to be kind of like a renaissance when it returns and they start fighting in front of crowds again?
I hope so. That's a good way to hope for things to happen. I don't know what's going on with it seems like they're just, everything they're doing right now, it seems like they're killing the business more and more. It's, from my perspective, being old school. So I don't know if killing something is good for it, but I guess it was good when they killed Jesus Christ, right? Things got way better for everybody,
Nuts. And as a fan, I know what you're talking about, because it's sports entertainment. I get it, but it still needs to be believable. And it gets to a point where when there's a guy running around with his hands in his pocket, kicking people, it's just not entertaining or believable enough. Even like movies, they have to be believable to a certain extent if that's the kind of genre that you're looking for. And that's what wrestling was built on, was that type of authenticity. It was like you were watching a real fight, and for a long time, people didn't even know that it was fixed. And I know that people were probably giving the Attitude Era guys the same slack when you see guys like Undertaker pretending to be dead people, but the ass whooping seemed a lot more real and authentic, even though it was coming from a dead person.
And you couldn't tell me that he didn't come back to life. Like when he woke up out of the casket, like you couldn't tell me. You couldn't tell me. ECW, you couldn't tell me that what you were doing wasn't real.
Well, they pretty much were doing some insane stuff over there.
Right. Yeah, nobody ever asked us if we ever hit each other in ECW.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and of course I agree. I can explain it from an inside, but I don't really. You guys aren't wrestlers, but I'll tell you like this though. There's been a big a break in a gap between the old school and the style that there is right now. Before the pandemic, there's so many organizations. It's like territorial again. So many different groups all across the world, and so there's never been an easier time for fans to get into the business. And of course, that's going to dilute the product somewhat just right there. Not everybody can be trained by the original Sheik like I was. Yeah. A lot of the wrestlers now, they watched RVD growing up, and so they want to do all my moves, but they never got the training to put the mindset in them that the Sheik gave me. And I noticed that a lot. Back then, it used to be protect the business was the number one rule, and now now it's more about here's what we could do if we didn't have to protect the business. Yeah. And it's crazy, but how much they give away of their magic, and then still want you to be, amazed when they do the trick after they've already shown you there's a hole in the bottom of the hat. Look, I'm gonna put my hand through it.
Yeah.
It's changing, but fans still love it, so. It's going in a direction one way or the other, but also the talent is on a whole new level. Not that long ago there was room for some guys that really weren't that good. The fans wouldn't get behind them. They'd say, "What's this lump of crap doing in the ring?" And then sometimes that lump of crap is beating all their favorite wrestlers because they're really trying to push this down your throat, make it work, and then they give up on it. And that used to happen all the time, but now you got to be like really, really good, even just to have any spot on TV. There's no room for those guys anymore. They can't hang with the stars.
The jobbers, the jabronis,
yeah,
as they say. Wow, I never really looked at it that way. It's true, and it's not just wrestling. Like fans, it's like there's not as many fans now. There's more creators. Everybody's an Instagram star. Everybody's a rapper. Everybody's a wrestler. I never really thought about how diluted it just makes the product. It's a really good point. So, WWE, the ratings were at an all-time low in December of 2020. And I think it gets to a point, like we were just mentioning, with the believability. And one great part about the Attitude Era was that it was designed for teenagers and for kids that were, like, getting older. Like, they grew up watching Hulk Hogan, and then they kind of transitioned into that whole Attitude Era. Like the wrestling kind of grew with that generation, with our generation.
All of professional wrestling. I mean, there was WCW, ECW. They're all, all huge. It wasn't really just like WWE now has it, and there's AEW now. But back then, it was like, it was that fight for Monday night.
But that being said, like now, I feel like it's the similar thing where the kids are starting to grow up, and I feel like it's one of those times where they could make it more of a PG-13 product and try to capture like everybody's attention and not just for, the children that are out there. So is there any chance that that will, and also there was an article that I read in which you made some type of a tweet in response to exactly that. If the WWE were to switch up and start becoming more adult themed. And I thought to myself, if that does actually happen and the WWE switches over, you are the perfect legend to bring back to usher in that era. So, I mean, if they do make that transition into a more adult-themed version of what they're doing now, is there a chance that we'll get to see a return of RVD in WWE?
Well, there's some, you covered a lot of ground there, but back to the credibility, something that you probably wouldn't take this into mind because what you do, but there used to be so many different companies, also different styles. And like when in Japan used to be a really big part of most wrestlers' careers. I don't know if it was most wrestlers, but it seems like everybody that was at a certain level of success, at least spent some time in Japan. And in Japan, there was so many different companies, but the top two companies over there were all Japan. That was WWF and WCW here, in the 90s. I wrestled all Japan wrestling, and it was the most like WWE, but it was so competitive. Like first off, they don't even speak English. Often when you're starting out and learning, they put you like in a lot of tag matches. A lot of times, like maybe 8-man tag matches and stuff, so that they can tag you out and take care of you that way while you're getting experience, stuff like that. But Sabu and I were wrestling Akiyama and Amori, and we both legitimately wanted the same position on the card. We wanted those tag belts. And by the way, I don't know how. I don't think that most wrestlers ever like losing. I don't. I mean, when you think about it, it's like a lot. You can call it. Some people try to call it. Make it seem like it's just acting, but at the same time, you're strategically laying out the pathway of your career by each choice every night and stuff like that. And it's like, there's a lot to it. But Sabu and I are wrestling Akiyama and Amori, and before the match, Sabu says to me, he says, "Hey, let's try and keep him over in our corner." And, kind of like try and cut the ring off in half and not let, get one, because you get one guy at a time. Don't let him tag his partner. And let's keep doing a lot of quick tags in and out so that we're fresh. And we'll try and blow him up, try and lay him out, try and get him winded. And this was, this is for real. This is Sabu and I plotting against these two guys.
That's wild.
That were both working. And we're, and Sabu's saying, if he starts to put me in a move, if either one of them starts to put me in a submission move, just come on in and break it up. Kick him. And it same thing over there. It was that competitive, and they wanted the tag belts, and so did we. And we knew that one of us was going to get into that position, and it was so competitive. And so when we're out there with them, you're wrestling around with them, you do want to outshine them. You want to look better than them from that competitive mindset. So just wanted to say, that's a lot of stuff that you probably wouldn't take. Why would you? You wouldn't. You have to experience that in order to really understand that, and that's just part of it. But I don't know what direction WWE is doing, and I don't know what kind of tease you saw. But I did say that right now the schedule is easier than it's ever been because with the pandemic, nobody's doing all those road shows. I would never go back to that, to being on the road full time. Like I said years ago that I was done with that, and now I'm even more done with that than I was then.
Dude, I'm amazed that you're still pulling off all those maneuvers because, we grew up watching you. You were known for insane athleticism, doing flips and rolls, and you're still out there doing it right now. So, I mean, hey, I guess we can attribute it towards the line of CBD.
Well, it's part of the lifestyle, so you can't argue with the success rate. Yeah, the CBDs are in marijuana. I don't know if people know this or not, but if you're smoking a joint like normal, marijuana has over 100 different elements that are specific to the plant. called cannabinoids, and CBD is one of them. So we only talked about THC for years and years and years. And that's because the government wanted us to prohibit it so that the rich could get richer. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So that the big companies like pharmaceuticals, alcohol, tobacco, the prison systems, also they can make more money. They wanted marijuana to be prohibited. So it's been illegal to study it. But now we're starting to legalize it state by state, even though the according to the federal stance, it's still a Schedule I controlled substance, which means zero medicinal value, even though we got like 33 states and the District of Columbia. They have medicinal programs. And when we get to 2/3, it's supposed to mandate a change federally anyway. But either way, it's ridiculous that their stance is still that it's the most dangerous drug. Most people know that's funny, but they don't know that really is still the standard Richard Nixon said in 1970. But anyway, so all we knew about it was, it gets you high and it's for losing whatever they told you about it. Now that we're studying it, we can grow it, and we can grow it so that all the different proponents of it are more dominant, and there's others, that'll be less, that'll lessen. So you can grow a plant so that the CBD is dominant and the THC is, minuscule, like the whatever the state says the percentage is.
It's amazing.
So it's been there. So we're utilizing the different parts of the plant because, and we're finding out what parts really gave us the effects. Some of the effects we desire, some people don't.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, they'd say, "Don't smoke the seeds; you'll lose your sperm."
Yeah,
so I'd always
remember that.
Get rid of the seeds. It's funny you say all that about the cannabinoids. We had recently on a grower, and I guess like a scientist, really. That's what he does is he experiments and he raises certain levels of CBD. So just for the ordinary average listener, like really like me that doesn't know too much about this, like what is another cannabinoid that you think in the future people really might be using as a medicine besides CBD?
Yeah. Well, I mean, CBG is a popular one. A lot of people aren't familiar with that unless they're
what was that name? What
industry? CBG kind of like
CBG.
It's an early stage development, but the CBG can become a CBD or THC. The CBN, and also like your friend that you're talking about there. Sometimes just the right combination from one to 50% this, 30% that, or even a further breakdown can get you the desired results. And it's a science. Pretty soon, people are going to be able to say, you know what, I want an elevated mood. I want to feel kind of lifted, but I don't want to, be giggly. I don't want to lose my focus. I want the pain to go away, but I don't want the munchies. And really, like, everything has its purpose, and it's manipulating our own systems. We have the endocannabinoid system inside of us, and that's what we use to do a lot of the things that we get results from when we add the cannabinoids to it. That we use our own system when we change our moods and we're mad, and then we get over it and we're like, oh, that's cool, we shrug it off. But it does everything though. I mean, all the way up to bone density and metabolism. But there's two of the endocannabinoid systems in us, and the CBD or the THC, they both latch on to the receptors and manipulate it,
And it makes me think, like, knowing it's so beneficial, and you've gone out and you've spoken about this publicly, that it's almost, I wouldn't call it a performance enhancing drug, but people go out there and they smoke pot before wrestling matches or before they throw a perfect game. So from your experience, how does marijuana make you improve athletically?
Yeah, so I look at it like, if you use it productively, responsibly, and you really learn to, get the best out of it, I call it a life enhancer. And for me, I've looked at it and described the athlete's point of view about specifically what it does, with taking my mind off the pain, whatever. But it's really a spiritual enhancer for me. And that's, the mind, body, and spirit are all connected. And I'm at my best when my spiritual vibration is at its highest. So by disconnecting my focus from a sore knee and from an upset stomach, say you got to wrestle. You've been traveling all night. You haven't slept.
Were you smoking before matches?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
I
always wanted to see what the locker room was like. Just I always wanted to see when they walked behind the curtain. What was going on back there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times internationally, I'll smoke in the dressing room, but usually I'll go outside, out back or something. But it does depend on the venue.
That's why you're flying so high.
Yeah, the highest.
I always thought you would have whooped Jean-Claude Van Damme's ass too when I was younger.
Oh yeah, easily, because he's doing it for real.
That was like my argument when I was younger. I used to always say,
"Hell yeah, RVD would have whooped his ass." Come on,
whooped his ass.
So, and this is a perfect time. We're going to play a little bit of music, come back, and go into those early origins, because there's a reason why you're called Rob Van Dam. We're going to get into that when we get back. We've got legendary RVD in studio. Light it up, light it up, light it up. I know you've got it. You're driving around. Enjoy yourself like we are here on the Ryan Show FM, and follow RVD on Instagram. Rob, what's your Instagram handle?
The Real RVD.
The Real RVD. There you have it. Mr. Cheeks, Hamptons Dave, and myself, Ryan Verneuille, in studio. Honky Wonky on the ones and twos. And we will be back. We have returned, Honky Wonky on the ones and twos, which can only mean one thing. This is the Ryan Show FM with your host, Ryan Verneuille. Mr. Cheeks in studio. Hamptons Dave in studio. Yes, and the one and only RVD is in studio tonight with us. And Rob, what are you smoking on these days? Like, I need a nice recommendation. What type of bud you rolling up over there?
I don't remember what this is. I have like my favorite weed that I've had like in years, and I don't know what it is, because I went to the sesh. They have these they call them sesh. Private, it's like a flea market.
It's like a flea market, yeah.
Yeah, full of weed, and everyone on the table. A lot of them will have the same stuff. Hey, we got runts, we got Thin Mints, we got Bubba Kush, whatever. I smell it, and then I'm like, how much is that? All right, cool. Let me come back. So after a while, I forget, and they didn't label it. But man, it's so good. Like, it puts me in such a good mood. I had a signing yesterday. Katie and I did an appearance. It was supposed to be 2 hours, and there were so many people. It was 5 hours before we got out of it. Yeah, it's crazy. But the one fan came up and he said, "Dude, you ever take tea breaks?" And I said, "No." And he goes, like when you're smoking so much, you don't get high anymore. You don't ever take a few days off and drink this tea. I said, "Dude, that never happens. It used to, but when I didn't know what I was doing. And then I realized I was only getting used to that same weed that I was smoking. Switch it up. Boom. There's always a better weed too." And so
it's a really good point. Like, for me at this point, it's kind of like getting regular. I don't go to these sessions.
That's the whole thing with CBDs. A lot of people, you could take the CBDs locally, like by the pain cream, you rub it on your elbow. You got receptors in all your cells. So it's going to get externally, it's going to get the receptor right there. And some of it will leak into your internal system too. But, if you take tinctures or edibles, now, since it's inside of you, it kind of goes through a different way. And I forgot what you said that I wanted to comment about with the shoot.
That's a good weed.
You were talking about utilizing. That's the thing, is that if a lot of people, if they have something that's off, say they've been getting migraine headaches, or they have anxiety, or they have irritable bowel syndrome, et cetera, if they take the CBD orally, and if it's the then they'll know. People that feel completely great and healthy, if they take it and they want to know, how do they know if it's working or not? You're not going to know. It's boosting your immune system, but mainly it's trying to promote homeostasis, which is exactly what you said, and that's normalized.
I feel like if I don't smoke, I'm angry, I'm irritable, I'm short and tempered. I'm just terrible. I'm just like awful unless I smoke. I don't know if it's because I smoke too much or it's because I'm just terrible.
At my best, like I said before, it's a life enhancer, spiritual enhancer. I feel at my best when vibration is at its highest and I'm in my best mood. I don't have a huge range of moods. Like a lot of I very, very rarely get angry, and if I get angry, sometimes it takes me days to cool off. It's like it's been a natural default mixed with a lot of conscious effort and trying to keep my zen as balanced as can be.
When you start spin kicking people,
but I can do that at home. You guys are the story, but I can be very calm. And if I think you need an ass weapon, I can say, dude, pick a hand. It's coming to you.
People think that they can challenge wrestlers and run up in the ring. I was watching today a video of Scott Hall just stomping a guy out and Macho Man. Like, it was just two separate videos of the NWO just trashing some dude that tried to go into the ring like an idiot. There was a famous incident in which you wrestled Eddie Guerrero, in which a fan attempted to push him off of a ladder. And I just wonder, were there any other stories like that you were part of that might not be captured on video, where you just saw a fan take a thrashing for trying to pull some crap on the wrestlers?
Yeah, the lawsuits stand out. I really want to talk about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're by the front row, they reach over and grab your hair and pull it. They get a little carried away, and I don't know why they think think. Yeah, there's been several times like that when a wrestler got in the ring. What happened there with Eddie? He was climbing up the ladder, and the fan came in, and he actually pushed the ladder over. And when he did that, Eddie just landed right on his feet. Couldn't have been a better landing. And
that guy probably looked like he saw a ghost.
Yeah. We try to discourage that, by using, physicality.
The bottoms of your feet.
Yeah.
And shouts to Kevin Nash for not beating this guy's ass. Like, you can see Kevin Nash is like, all right, he kind of diffused it, pushed him out of the ring gently. Macho Man saw it and ran up like a wild dog, just like stomping.
Yeah, at that point, I mean, it's you're committed. You're committed to the show. It's not like you just take a break and say, "Oh, wait, hold on a second. We didn't expect this." It ain't like that, So it's best, if one of you guys, if you got a good guy and a bad guy, it's best for the bad guy to take the heat if there's going to be heat. If there's going to be any booze or anything like that. If it's, it's hard sometimes for the what we call the baby face to but
now the fans want to see them get stomped out, so faces don't have.
I always said the way you guys stayed so patient and didn't whoop the crowd's asses. Like, they're saying foul stuff, screaming it right in your guys' faces when you go over by the by the front row, like you said. And it's just like, I'm watching, and it's, how do you not just turn around and just sweet chin music this guy, just like get him in a headlock and just like, who are you messing with? Whose hair are you grabbing?
Yeah, fortunately for most of my career, everybody loves me. So
yeah.
That's one thing. You were always very universally loved. I remember when the invasion happened as a kid, you were the one guy who I didn't despise, because I was a WWF guy. When everybody invaded in, I was like, oh my God, you were just the man. And that's one thing too, is like, you were voted the most popular wrestler 2 years in a row, 2001, 2002, which are like very, very important years in wrestling. So, I mean, to be at that pinnacle and not be one of like Vince's guys, it must have not been easy to make that transition, being at the very top at ECW and then going into WWE. What was it like getting used to the locker room and just moving to a new company like that?
It totally had its ups and downs. It was like almost like a cycle. A lot of times it was extremely frustrating for me, and I would feel like, no, this is not for me. I got to get out of here. And there'd be other times, where I'd be like, dude, this is so awesome. Like when I had the hardcore belt, or even we're representing ECW both at the beginning and then again, later on, and then lots of lulls in between where I'd be like, oh, I hate it, and then the monotony of the travel. Like if you're not enjoying what they're doing with you, or something like that, or your placement in the show or something, then it makes it much harder to do that nearly possible travel.
And it's every week. I forget who we had on that said it. It's like all the athletes, they get breaks. Like football, they have the Super Bowl and then they're off. You guys have WrestleMania, and then Raw is a big WrestleMania that next day, like in the WWE, or you have your, the big pay-per-view, and then the next night you're right out there again. And it's just like it never ends. You never get that, that break that other athletes get.
When I was with them from 2001 to 2006, I guess it was, or 7, the only time that I got off was being injured. And I mean, it's a good problem to have, because you're over. A lot of guys wish they were booked that much, but they're not, because they weren't over, or they weren't, considered marketable by whoever's the decision maker at the time, whatever, so you look at it that way, but it's a grind, and it's very demanding, and it's not just a lot of people might say, well, I go and I travel every week to this city and back, but it was a different hotel every night. The only exception of WrestleMania, and it used to be SummerSlam. You stay in SummerSlam, maybe three nights in the same hotel. Otherwise, it's check in, check out, check in, check out. Rent a car, turn it back, rent a car, turn it back. Get your flight, get off it. Get your next flight, get off it. And it gets pretty monotonous. So you got to really love it in order for it to not destroy you.
Can you imagine? When you went over to WWF, what was the biggest difference between working behind the scenes with a guy like Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon?
Well, I still worked with Paul mostly when I went to WWE. He was there ahead of me, and he was somehow involved in the talent relations as one of their agents. And so, I would still, he was very protective of what they wanted to do with me. And I, it was rare that I would talk with Vince other than just small talk and passing. It wasn't like, Vince is a very, very busy guy. It's not like he's explaining every promo to every wrestler. But they would have their meetings several times a day, in the morning, and then again right before the show, I think again right after the show. And at the meeting, there's all these writers and agents, and all the agents would be attached to certain wrestlers, and so they would be like kind of fighting it out, maybe Fit Finlay might be saying, no, I think Jericho should be getting that spot, Jericho or Kane for sure. And then Paul would be like, no, put RVD there. That makes sense because of this. And then another agent, trying to push somebody else.
Okay. So that's how it works. Okay. Yeah, I was always curious.
They're saying, push me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got Triple H over there just marrying in. Smart.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I believe, I don't want to say the wrong year, but there was a point where you were not only WWE champion, but you were also the ECW champion at the same time. And this is when they had relaunched ECW as a brand within WWE. So at that point, to my knowledge, you were the first ever to be, I guess you'd call an undisputed champion up to that point in time.
Yes. Yeah. That was pretty much the highlight of everything. It was like, I stuck to my guns, the whole time, wrestling extreme, always trying to make wrestling extreme and hardcore. And that's my plight, I guess. That's my journey is everyone tried to change me along the way. And I really preferred this style, not realizing how unique my one of a kind style was until way later in my career. But, the fans from ECW, they agreed that ECW was their favorite product. They didn't want to force fed the mainstream stuff. So that match with John Cena was for all that momentum of, the last several years of my career, everything that's been good about it, all coming, and the victory was, for all the fans, and it was just like everybody won when I won that championship, and was the WWE champion. Like, I changed the entire playing field by bringing ECW back, or I don't think that would have ever happened. And so that was definitely the crowning moment. And and 2 weeks later, I came to Philly. That was going to be like my return to, like, that's one of my hometowns to go. That's the home of the hardcore fans. And I was going there representing, like, dude, we got their championship. But instead that night I'm on my back looking up at the lights, and Paul is making the 3 count. And it was like such a disappointing moment. All the fans going boo, and they all started throwing their drinks and everything into the ring, and I just felt really bad. I rolled off the ring onto the floor, and I think I rolled onto the ring, and I was just like, oh my God, just leave me here for a few days.
Man. Yeah, it's how they took it too, right? Like, of all those circumstances.
Well, I mean, that's one way to look at it. I never really argued that point too far because it was their decision. I mean, anyways, I got pulled over for speeding and had marijuana with me. So it was possession of marijuana, 18 grams, because the Philly crowd was chanting it. That's how I knew, because they were saying marijuana, 18 grams. And
man.
Everybody. By the time I got to the arena, everybody knew. It was all over everything, because I was the WWE champion at the time. So I didn't tell anybody. I was like, I'll just let it blow over. And I had no choice. And then I guess because it was on it was on TV, radio, internet, print, I guess that's why, Vince listened to whoever his advisor that said, here's what we do, and I dropped the 2 titles, and I was suspended for days. There's always the perspective of what happened to innocent until proven guilty, because I was way before my court date. But, like I said, I never argued the point, and, it is what it is.
And to think that they would do that, because now if you were to get pulled over and you'd have 18 grams of weed, it probably wouldn't matter at all. And it just is, it really is a shame. And who gets punished the most now is the fans, because we all want to see a real title run with RVD. So, hey, what can you do? Sorry for my part in that to the fans. Well, if you ask me, it's barbaric that they punish you. You shouldn't be sorry. That's crazy. No one should ever get in trouble for weed. Come on. Now, I see you on Impact, or I saw you on Impact last year, and I saw that there was a promo taken down from Twitch. It was too risque for Twitch, but it is still on YouTube, albeit very grainy. So from what I could decipher, you were in a bed with 2 women, and it was very funny. So what's the backstory on that promo?
So that was I was with Katie and Jennifer, and they filmed I don't know what we were celebrating. We were celebrating something, and and we were in bed, and it was very sexual. And then Twitch banned Impact for that. The ban lasted like 2 or 3 days, and then if that, and then Impact, worked out whatever agreement with them and got right back on. But it was, it was just something for me to shrug off, because some of the fans might think that was us being crazy, but when it comes down to, the what's the right word? I don't know. When it comes down to breaking it down, they wrote it. It was their idea. They filmed it. They wanted it. They should have known that Twitch doesn't allow any sexual material on there. So that was all on them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you can't tell.
Wait, that was all on them. Katie and Jennifer were on me.
Yeah, there we go. Oh man! All right, so I know I said this.
Shout
earlier.
out to Katie and Jennifer. Give them a
big
cheers.
shout out. Yes, there we go. He's raising the glass there. We're going to go to a quick smoke break. We're going to come back and talk the origins, which I wanted to do earlier, and then wrap things up. Follow RVD at The Real RVD on IG. He's out there. He's on other social media platforms, too. Are there any other ones specifically that you'd like us to promote besides IG?
Dude, I'm at The Real RVD everywhere. And also, RVD CBD is at the same. RVD on Instagram. RVDCBD.com is the website where we are doing a lot of good business. Look at the reviews there. That's the best part is just there's such good energy because everyone is telling me how much it's helped them, even when other CBD products didn't help them. And a lot of people don't know like what to go with. There's so much out there. How do I know what's real, what's not? RVD stuff, not only the best, but it's also been the least expensive from what I've seen. Like, and I've been in a lot of the dispensaries. You know, that's my business.
And like you said, you're not going to just attach your name to anything. You've done your research. This is it. Top-notch CBD. Go check it out. We'll get back. We'll get into that more. This is the Ryan Show FM. We got Honky Wonky here to play a little bit of music.
DJ and Honky Wonky.
We will be back. And we are back. This is the Ryan Show FM. RVD in studio with us tonight. And I'm just going to get right into it because I've been waiting all night. RVD, the name Rob Van Dam. You mentioned earlier it's a reference to Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I can imagine that you named yourself that or whoever named you that because you can kick some ass in real life. So what type of martial arts have you studied in? I read that you studied up quite a few.
Yes. And my experience with martial arts, actually, if it's related to JCVD, then it's because he inspired me, you know. But I was a fan of his when Bloodsport, Kickboxer, all those. That was like I was in all the action was the box office attraction. Then it was Steven Seagal, and then here came Jeff Speakman and Mark Dacascos. This how do you say his name? Dacascos. I don't know. I did a movie with him that comes out actually in a couple of weeks in April. Assault on VA 33.
Nice. Okay.
Michael Jai White is in it, and Sean Patrick Kennedy, bunch of like great dudes. Anyway, I was a fan, and you know, I would imitate. And before that, I would watch what was called Chop Socky Theater, and it was dubbed. Overseas martial films that were just dubbed so their lips didn't match, you know, and they were flying over it. That's how I learned to like run up trees and do backflips and stuff like that. Was
run up trees.
Right. But then I actually got into kickboxing first, and I got into that because I wanted to wrestle. There was one ring in Battle Creek where I grew up, and everybody knew it sat in this guy's yard. So me and my buddies who would wrestle in the living room on the couch cushions, we'd throw them on the floor, and we'd do this. Right. So we went and knocked on his door, and we said, "You got to get in your ring, man. We're going to be wrestlers when we grow up." And he was like, "Can you do that in front of people?" We were like, "Yes." And he turns out a promoter. He promotes kickboxing shows, so he would have us show up to work out, to wrestle, but we'd have to work out with his kickboxers first. And so that's how I got into kickboxing. I had an affinity for it. And I thought, maybe I'd pursue that even when I was training with the original Sheik. But anyway, I got into kickboxing, and then I went, then the Battle Creek Budokan taught Aikido, Kendo, and karate. And I think I went there with a 2-week free coupon book, and then got over with the guys that were running it, you know, so they let me keep coming. And then Tatami's Taekwondo. I had like a friend that was in there, and he'd come over and work out. And I was sparring everybody, because with kickboxing, it doesn't matter what art or what belt you're at. We'd have the gloves and foot pads, and we'd go at it. So I was knocking guys out, even if they were like, this guy's telling me he's been in it for 10 years, and I'm just starting. I'm like, really? I'm knocking your ass out? And then over the years, a little bit here and there. The thing I spent most of the time in was Kaju Kenbo when I was in Savannah, Georgia, because they taught that at the Gold's Gym and the Sifu Katani. Again, it was just I don't know, maybe it was free for everybody, but I don't know. But he always invited me. I was always a guest in the class, and I enjoyed that, because that's like much like Krav Maga, except it's got like 5 different arts in it, but it's realistic stuff that, taking people's eyes out and stuff like that. But when I started wrestling, I was told by the Sheik and Sabu, the Sabu is the original Sheik's nephew. So
wow, okay, I didn't realize. That's crazy.
Yeah, the first time I went to meet the Sheik, he put me in a ring, and with this hippie with skinny legs, and then the guy was like locking up with me and pushing me down. I didn't even know what he was doing. That was part of my tryout. Was with this guy, and he ended up being Sabu. So I've known Sabu longer than anybody in the business. But
what's the chance of that too? I mean, all the history that you two are going to make. And really quick, I love how you just said normal things that you do in a fight, like pull someone's eye out.
Yeah. I just have to things that were functional,
yeah.
There was a lot of katas that you got to do forms and katas to excel in the belts and memorize that on your way up. But a lot of it was about, like punching somebody in the temple, and stuff, using facial features to control their body, and stuff like that.
Like Three Stooges almost. That is crazy. Wow.
So the first couple of years that I wrestled, I was told, just get as much ring time as you can. Doesn't matter what they do with you, what they call you. Don't worry about any of that. And so, a lot of guys would do it the other way around. Shouldn't I be a wrestler? I got a good name. And, I was called anything. I was called a Flying Tiger, International Patriot, different forms of my real last name, Rod Zat, Robbie Z.
Did you ever wear a mask? Any type of mask persona at any point?
Not that I remember. I don't think that I ever did. I don't think I ever came out in a mask. If I did, then it was me. But anyway, I'm just getting to answer your question. A promoter in '91 said he wanted to call me Rob Van Dam. I don't remember hearing that I looked like him at the time. Like I said, I was a fan of his earlier, but I never, after that, I started hearing it all the time. People would think that I'm related to him, or
I always thought you were his family. 1,000%.
Yeah.
Always thought you were his family.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing that at all until '92, and I was like, all right, he's going to call me that for tonight, and then something else tomorrow. But it stuck. It worked.
And they never really changed you up too much. Like, creatively, how much control did you have throughout the course of your wrestling career? Because you've kind of always, it's not even like a gimmick. It's just like you.
It never changed like a name or anything, never changed. A lot of even like big time wrestlers would go through different gimmicks and different names, and
Yeah, I never really wanted to do that. But a lot of one way to look at that is, promoters trying different things because maybe what they're doing doesn't work. Another thing, though, if you look at it like actors, a lot of like actors like to play like different parts and kind of like stretch their boundaries and do things that are, more uncomfortable for the experience, and I don't have as much of that in me as a lot of people. I'm pretty much consistent, and I've been in, quite a few movies and stuff, but that doesn't mean you're going to see me singing and dancing or I just, I feel like I'm limited in that comfortable zone, whereas other people that's more for them. And, that's how I look at like how many times Jericho has changed his hairdo. I'm like, entertainer. I guess that fills the need for him, changing all that up all the time and looking different and wearing all those different clothes and stuff. And, maybe I'm boring, but that's something that even when they wanted to change up and it was Impact and started talking to me about being a heel, at first I was like, and I thought about it and I was like, yeah. Right.
Well, it's that like you're likable. It's like there's a matter of likability and like being cool. You never had to like pretend to be somebody else. You just kind of, it seemed as though you were just going out and being yourself. So
at different stages of my career, of course, I had different control over that, and that was something like when I was in WWE in 2003-ish, that was something that they tried to get me to do was they wanted to see me angry. They really thought that's where the money was. They wanted to see me like rip my ponytail out and just be like, maybe rip up my strap down or something, really get mad because they never seen that. And I was always like, don't you have everybody else to do that?
Yeah.
So I just had a different view and I was stubborn.
Who is it that came up with your gear, your ring gear, the whole style of RVD? Did you create that yourself?
The
yin yang on the tights, the whole thing.
Yeah, yes and no. I had the idea and I went to this airbrush artist that was at the flea market when I lived in Savannah, Georgia, and he did motorcycle helmets and gas tanks and license plates and stuff. And I asked if he could do a wrestling outfit. And I told him
they got a great flea market down there. It just sounded like Savannah, Georgia. It probably has the best flea markets.
The guy, I told him specifically what I wanted, and for the first few, I would do that. I want a dragon and a yin yang and a lightning bolt. And then, I kept using that guy, and I've always used that guy for my whole career, the same guy. So, eventually he would, I trusted him to come up with his own ideas. If I had some ideas, I'd give it to him, or he would just say, hey man, I, had some fun, just, was inspired by this, whatever, and what do you think about this? And I'd be like, dude, I love it. So as far as the actual outfits, that was like both of us, and the style, that's always been me. The the yin and yang is I live by that. I live by balance.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're in touch with the universe, like you said. You've got a good relationship with the universe. So I just want to thank you, Rob, for coming on tonight, because we do have to wrap things up. But one last question: where does it come from? I just out of curiosity. It was Mac Daddy. I got to shout out to Mac Daddy, our producer. He wanted to know where it comes from. The RVD.
Sorry, I'm choking on my water. So I am a heel in 96 in ECW. I'm wrestling Sabu, and I'm new there, and they loved Sabu. He was like a god there. So all the fans are giving me crap, booing me, and they're cheering Sabu. They'd be Sabu, Sabu. And I would, I'd do something really cool. Maybe leg sweep Sabu and then jump up, do a 360 leg drop, boom, and land on him. And I'd say, I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, don't you mean Rob Van Dam? That's how it started. At first I didn't have the 3 pumps. I would do it like early on. I need this guy right here, don't you? And I would just pump. And I was kind of inspired again by JCVD, because in the movie Kickboxer, he wants to fight Tung Po, the lead heel, but he has a tryout match first in front of the promoters, and this is where they do the rib kicks over and over, side, back and forth, bam, bam, bam. He knocks him out. He looks up at the promoters and he goes, "I want Tung Po." And I was noticing like he's doing a double bicep without making it look like he's doing a double bicep, and I like that idea. So I kind of would kind of try to flex my arms without it looking like I'm doing a double bicep and pointing myself. I really didn't know that was anything special until I was in a match in Japan, and we were pulling up to the Budokan in Tokyo, and there's a big line of fans out, and the bus goes along the line of fans, and I'm looking out the window, and for the first time ever, the fans, they were doing this at me.
Oh.
I was like, oh, that's my thing. I didn't even realize that was like.
That's got to be the greatest feeling, going to another country. Just like always talking about Cheeks, going on the road. When you see all these people that, mimic you, and then you see it from the fans, and especially going to another country.
Like Japan, where they're so obsessed, too. Japan is just such a funny country. Love Japan.
I've been going to Japan since 93. When I first started going over there, and I've wrestled for many companies over there. But yeah, TV is so powerful, and especially WWE, they're so global, as far as their reach, that it's amazing to see how much, as a wrestler, how much you are affecting cultures that you don't even know about, I mean, like in India, for instance, all the kids, rub, and they're doing my thumbs. And
yes.
Sometimes you're in countries you don't even know about, and it's like, and I have taxi drivers tell me that all the time. They'll be like, oh, you were very popular in Istanbulski. I'm like, where? I don't even. it really is amazing, and it's a cool thing. I get a lot of love for it, even though they don't know me personally. It's cool that
but
we feel like we do.
Feel like you do.
If we feel like we do.
Yeah.
And on that note, thank you. It's been an honor.
Yeah.
We're gonna be plugging and promoting this CBD. I'm gonna give some a try. Rob Van Dam in studio. Try that CBD, Rob. Is there anything that you'd like to leave the fans off with to go check out?
No, dude. I appreciate the interview. I always try to keep everybody as posted as I can. I got a lot of good stuff coming up. Some of it I can talk about, some of it I can't. I think they've been already promoting this Icon show that WWE is doing on me, the Icon documentary. It's going to be so good. I'm excited about that, but there's going to be bigger news before that. Like I said before, man, 2021 is a good year.
It's all coming together.
That's what I like to hear.
Thanks to the universe. It is all coming together. Rob, thank you very much. Mr. Cheeks, Hamptons Dave, myself, Ryan Verneuille in studio. We're going to have to wrap things up. It's been a long night, but we're closing things out in a few minutes. A little more music by DJ Honky Wonky. Gentlemen, fellas, we will be back. Bing!
Cooler ruler. Define,